All right, welcome back from the break, everybody. Again, my name is Woody Ward, and this is What's Up Aboard the podcast. And we're talking to our favorite soon-to-be PhD, Ronada Dominique.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, all right. Hey, and I got one or two questions left about your PhD program. My first one is there something that you wish you would have known in the beginning that you now know that you think maybe could have helped you or relieved some stress going into that
Oh, for
program?
sure. For sure. So I'm in a writing and rhetoric program, which is English, but my master's was in literature and language. And so I wish someone would have told me that those are worlds apart in the English umbrella.
Hmm.
And so you have literature that has its own theories, its own heavy hitters, right?
Yeah,
And then you have writing and rhetoric that has entirely different theories, different heavy hitters, different focus when it comes to education. And so my first semester on campus, I was already dealing with a lot. I had a 3 month old.
yeah,
I was breastfeeding. I was doing like a lot of stuff. And then I get into the classroom and they're mentioning all these names, all these Smagorinsky and Burke and all these people. And I'm like, who are I don't know none of these people. None of their names sound familiar to me. But everybody else in class seemed to be aware or a bit more aware than I was. And it really did something to me. I was second guessing. I was calling my mentor who had told me to go into Comp Red. I love Dr. Jackson. She's at North Carolina Central. And I said, I don't think I can do this. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. I know nothing. It's like I'm behind the curve. And she said, if you weren't supposed to be there, then they wouldn't have accepted you. I said, okay, okay. So, but that first semester was really hard because I didn't realize that there was a learning curve and I was behind it.
ooh,
So I wish someone, at least Dr. Jackson, would have told me that I had to do some work over the summer
yeah,
to prepare for this program. That's the one thing that I wish I would have known. And the other is just the creation or the development of composition, period. So it's writing and rhetoric, but that's heavily influenced by composition. And so, like, think of your first year writing courses,
yes.
right? And that normally falls under, it's in English, but it falls under a composition program. And so I wish someone would have told me more about the history of composition and how it came to be, and that tension between composition, writing and rhetoric, and literature, because it very much so is a lot of tension there in the development of the composition program. And so that would have made a huge difference too in understanding that history a bit better to
Yeah.
then figure out how I fit as a Black woman in the program,
Hmm.
because it was difficult trying to find researchers who looked like me, trying to find, articles that kind of reflected my experience. And that's actually what I'm working on now for my dissertation project. So understanding where the Black people are, the Black
Hmm.
experience in composition, who's writing about that experience and how, because the representation is just not there. And if it is there, it's hard to find.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have known those two things. Those are the big things. Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you happen to know the success rate or the graduation rate for people in this program?
I don't. I know that they give you, I believe, it may be 7 or 10 years to complete the program.
Man.
And from my understanding, people can take that whole 10 years. Most people kind of average around 7. I am not giving them that long. So, yeah, I very few I've seen. Some do it in 4, but I think 4 for this program, this type of program is like the minimum. Yeah,
So,
the
so that's
minimum.
after your bachelor's. You saying another 7 years after that, or
Well, even
total?
after your master's, so they do allow you to transfer your credits from your master's program into your PhD work, but
Okay.
you also still have your coursework for the PhD, which could take 2 or 3 years, depending on how many classes you take per semester.
Okay.
Most people take 3 years, but some could take two. That's how you finish your program in 4, maybe 5 years.
Hmm. Now, if I remember correctly, you taught high school for a minute, didn't you?
I did. I
Okay.
did. I taught high school for 2 years in North Carolina at a school in Oxford, North Carolina, and totally different experience, different people, students are different, but the issues are similar to your city. It's all students. The only difference is they wear camo a little bit more and they like hunting. They go hunting and stuff, you know. That's
Yeah,
pretty much the only
never understood
difference.
that. Yeah.
Right. I remember I had a student who wasn't doing so well, and his mom said, if he doesn't pass this quarter, then he won't be able to start hunting season like next week or something. I was like, wow, that's the recourse. Okay.
Wow. Okay then.
Yeah, yeah. And the student was really upset about it. It's either you can't go hunting or you can't ride the four-wheeler. That was the consequence for them down there.
Okay then. Wow. All right. Let me move on to my next point I wanted to jump on. You had mentioned your little bundle of joy, Xavier. Is that right?
Mhm.
Xavier, is that her name? I like that name. That's
Her
unique.
name's Xavier.
Xavier. So you could have went either
Mhm.
way, boy or girl with that. How'd you come up with that name?
So I have loved that name since I was a kid in my neighborhood. There was a lady who lived across the way from us, and her name was Xavier, and that was the only Xavier that I knew who was a woman. And I
Okay.
told myself then I probably was like elementary school, like I'm gonna name my daughter that because I don't know anybody else. I like being different. I like going against the grain.
Yeah.
Everybody who knows me knows that. Don't expect anything traditional from me. Uh, and so this is right up my alley. So I named my daughter Xavier because I like the name. I like it as a male or female name, but I like it
Yeah.
more as a female name. So
Okay.
but that's the only downside is when I say, "Oh, my daughter's name is Xavier," people in their mind they say, "Oh, he." I just said
Yeah.
my
She.
daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Mhm.
trips people up sometimes, but I don't regret naming her that at all.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I do like that. I want to ask you about uh, Xavier because I had kids and it kind of changed my life in a way I never imagined. Did you ever think you could love someone as much as you love your daughter?
You know, I would say that I felt like I would love a husband, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
now I like experiencing a child's love, that unconditional love. It's a different type of feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
different type of vibe. And I can say that through her being born and having her primarily, it has changed my life in a lot of ways in that she I had to be courageous. Like I had to make some really tough decisions with
Hmm.
her in mind because I wanted to give her the absolute best of me. And
Okay.
so it's not that she forced me to grow up because I'm very much so mature and I'm a holistic thinker and all types of things. But there were certain elements of my life that I had to alter to make sure that I was my best self for her.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
think if anything, she's taught me how to be courageous and stand on my word and make sure
Mm.
that I put myself first or consider myself more often than not, and I think those are the lessons that I've learned from her. I have to stick up for myself in order to stick up for her and do the best that could be done for her.
Mhm. Definitely. I know that I read your story about breastfeeding. I want to touch on that a little bit because I know that breastfeeding is important, especially because it has the nutrients baby need, including protein, carbs, fat, calcium, vitamins, and minerals, and it's instant. I know that
All
had, I
that
mean,
good stuff.
yeah, I actually read a study there saying is maybe people shouldn't do it, but I want to touch on your story because it was very personal. You had mentioned that you felt bad when your baby was crying, was hungry, and you couldn't address her the way you wanted to. I just want to touch on that a little bit, if you wouldn't
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to nurse, right? I wanted to breastfeed. I spent months before Xavier was born studying and just trying to learn everything that I could about it because, we come from, where I come from, a generation that it wasn't It wasn't super prevalent. Like, it was definitely formula, and nothing is wrong with formula. I think fed is best, right?
Right.
How you choose to feed your child is how you choose, and there's some people who prefer, formula and those things that are created for babies who sometimes have allergies to their mom's breast milk or,
Oh,
just can't
wow.
handle it, to those who are able to successfully nurse for 3 months, 6 months, however long they choose, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, when it came time to it, it was very painful, right? And these are things that nobody can really prepare you for. It's one of those things, a lot of times when women become pregnant, they don't know what type of pregnancy they'll have. There are women who deal with sickness the entire time. They have to
Hmm.
be on bed rest. There are women who lose their teeth, their
What?
hair, but you don't know these things happen until it happens, right? But it's like deciding to birth a child is literally life altering from the moment that little squiggly implants itself in the uterus, right? It
Yeah.
changes immediately. But sometimes we don't know how that looks or how that reveals itself until you're in it and it's too late to
Oh,
turn
yeah.
back. And
Hmm.
so for me, I had a medically perfect pregnancy. There was nothing wrong, But after Xavier was born, so she was born, she was over 9 pounds.
Wow. Ooh, that's
Yeah,
big, ain't
yeah.
it?
She was big. She's still big.
Okay.
She's tall. She's tall and she's a little solid. But so it was um very difficult delivery because of her size, and we didn't know that she was going to be that big. But even after just trying to get into breastfeeding, it was hard. You have to deal with, engorgement. So your body is like, I need to produce milk, but
Right.
the milk is not going anywhere. So you're like in pain, or
Mm.
maybe your body has to get used to this type of trauma, right? Someone is needing this part of your body that hasn't been used in these ways. And so
Yes.
it has to familiarize itself with this different type of function. And so then they're bleeding and they're cracking and there's a whole bunch of stuff, right? But you
Yeah.
still have to produce for your child.
Yeah.
And so I was never an overproducer.
Okay.
My body just produced just enough that was needed for Xavier during that time. And it didn't really become an issue until she started daycare. And that's a whole different arena. I know our daycare providers do a lot, but I
Mm.
just saw the disparity and experience and knowledge and know-how. I just was really blown away by that lack that was there. And
Mm.
so I would bring her bottles there, enough that I knew she needed, and they would tell me I needed to bring ounces and ounces and ounces of milk. I said, well, she's breastfed, so this is a different kind of substance. This is,
Right.
she don't need that much.
Right. Yeah.
But they were telling me that I needed more, or to mix it, or to do things that I didn't want to do. And
Hmm.
I one time I almost started crying
Oh,
because
man.
I'm this was her first time and they were trying to tell me about my child instead
Hmm.
of listening to me tell them. And
Mm.
so for them, and so I told them, I said, well, if she cries, that doesn't mean she's hungry every time. That means you might have to play with her. That means you might have to do something, but
True.
it doesn't mean, she needs milk. And I think to my detriment, there were babies who were in that daycare during that time who were not breastfed. So they had these 12-ounce bottles full of watery milk and stuff, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That they would be drinking, and I would bring Xavier's, 4-ounce bottles of breast milk, and it was just different. So it was a very hard um, situation for me as a new mom to be in because I felt like people weren't listening to me, and they didn't have the know-how for babies that were breastfed, right? And
Mhm.
so the pandemic happened, of course. So after about 8 months, she was at home with me and I didn't have to really concern myself with it. But that experience really made me feel that I wasn't doing enough as a mom, preparing for Xavier when I really was
Mhm.
pumping just as much as she needed.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's
Wow.
a lot around breastfeeding and nursing that a lot of people, there are misconceptions, they don't know, they're not informed, and it's not their issue, right? It's not their problem that they don't know. I think we are learning a lot about the powers of breast milk and all that it can do. I mean, I was putting breast milk in her hair. When she got mosquito bites, I was putting it on, she would bathe in it. If
Hmm.
she was congested, I would just, like saline. because it just did so much.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine. Yeah.
I saw for myself the power that was in breast milk and the fact that it changes as she grows.
Hmm.
Like it's just you nobody will ever be able to convince me that breast milk is not the best milk. I'm
Right.
sorry.
I'm with you.
You can feed your baby whatever you want, but any child that I'm having, that's what they're gonna have.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on having more kids, or is
I
this it?
do. I do plan to have more. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure how many, but I do plan to have more. I know that I want to get this part of my career kind of under my belt first
Hmm.
and then see what it is. I don't believe in and I never believed in stopping what I was doing or putting my dreams on hold because I had a child, because I'm having a child. And I started that really when I first became pregnant. I'm Renata first. I've always been Renata. So I'm Renata first, and then I'm Xavier's mom.
Okay.
And that really helped me when she was born because I didn't experience mom guilt. I didn't have an issue with letting her stay with my mom or something. I can go and just kind of focus on me and have my fun, right? I didn't deal with those issues because right at the beginning, I told myself I have to be in tune with me so that I can do and what I need to do for her. And so
Absolutely.
that was really, really important to me. And that even included my PhD program. Like I said, she was 3 months old, and I was starting my program in the fall. I'm dealing with seasonal depression because it's getting dark or
Yeah.
early and my classes are at night, and I gotta bring my pump to campus with me and find a lactation room to pump and keep it cold and it was a lot, but I was determined to not give up and not say, let me just take a leave. I know because it's harder to pick back up after you decrease that momentum. If you're in motion, stay in motion. I was already in motion, so stay
Yep.
in motion.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah, you're right. So, were you worried about losing baby weight, or how did you deal with that? Did you have because it seemed like you're a busy person. Did you have time to get it in the gym too, or did you just walk to school? Or
So yeah, yeah, I'll say it wasn't the weight was a concern. I was concerned, I'll say that. And I think so breastfeeding does help you lose some of that
I've heard
baby
that.
weight, not immediately. So mine was a bit delayed. It was probably 6 or to 8 months after that literally I lost 30 pounds and I couldn't tell nobody how I lost it.
Wow, 30.
It was just gone and I just kind of kept going from there. But I
Hmm.
do think but you have to consider when you have a child, you are maybe eating when they eat, but you're also looking at. So what I did was Xavier, she had her bowl, her plates and stuff, and I would use her plates, and that helped me with portion size. So if I was eating when she ate, that's fine, but my portions were smaller. And I
Hmm.
would do some things at home, some home workouts and things like that. We used to go and walk 2 miles and stuff, but I think most of it was breastfeeding and lifting her and taking her,
That's
right? That's
true.
a
Yeah.
lot of, of activity that we don't think about. I'm lifting up a 10, 15-pound baby in the car seat, walking this, pushing a stroller, those are all things. So I think
Mhm.
all of that together helped me see some weight loss and I wasn't stressing over it, but it was a concern. I think it's a concern for most women because you are sometimes at your heaviest. And you're
Yeah.
like, what in the world? What
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is going on? Right. But I won't say I was obsessing over it because I knew I had a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
some stress mixed in there. I wasn't sleeping a lot, right? But I think for me, that 30 pounds that just kind of disappeared, I think that was because of breastfeeding.
Mhm. Well, I know you're a swimmer too, because word on the street is you have this hair wrap that keeps locks from getting wet, and that was pretty
I
ingenious.
just got that. Oh yeah, I just got that you go natural. Shout out to y'all. I got that swim turban and I do plan on using it. Not this season, of course, but now I know and I have it for next season. I do enjoy the water. I
Okay.
enjoy swimming and so hopefully because I have it now, I can because I want Xavier to swim as well.
I
I
was going
I
to ask you
had
that.
tried to start her I tried to start her when she was 6 months, but that's when the pandemic just, became a thing. And so they canceled her classes. But I do believe that all people should know how to swim
Oh yeah.
well.
Hmm.
inefficiently enough to survive.
Right.
And the sooner you start, the earlier you start, the better. And so I certainly, we're delayed a little bit, but that's fine. I think she's still at an age where she can love water and become acclimated to it. And so if I can get her into swimming, then I'll probably get myself into swimming too, but to become a stronger swimmer. I
Hmm.
want to have that courage to be able to jump off the diving board. I've never jumped off a diving board
Neither.
before in my life.
Neither.
But I want to have that courage. If I go on vacation, I want to jump into the little cave jump thing and and
Hmm.
no, I'm not going to drown.
Okay. All right. I'm more of a watcher, but yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I want to ask you too about. So you pledged a sorority. When did you have time to do that? And at what point in life did you pledge? And which sorority?
Right. So I did pledge a sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded in Indianapolis, Indiana, Butler University.
Mhm.
And I did that in undergrad. So after I transferred from I transferred from Seton Hall. Sorry, after I transferred from Seton Hall, after 2 years, I went down to UNC Charlotte and just loved it. I didn't know anybody there. I just knew I had to transfer because Seton Hall was becoming a bit too transferred to UNC Charlotte and found my people. I joined Voices of Eden gospel choir down there. Shout out to y'all. And I also, in my semi senior year, joined Sigma Gamma Rho with the Neuro chapter
Mhm.
because I was just, looking for a place to fit. And my brother, he had become a member of Phi Beta Sigma a couple of years before I joined Sigma Gamma Rho. So he
Mhm.
was my first introduction into Greek life. And so I just kind of did my research and I figured out which one kind of meshed with me the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
And no shade to any of the other sister Greeks, they
Right.
all
Right.
have their pros, but I just felt that Sigma called to me
Hmm.
in ways that I could stay authentic, I could stay myself, and I could add to the overall mission. And so it's been a really good ride. I joined in the spring of 2013, so it's been quite a while.
Okay.
I think I'm classified as an old head at this point. But it's been good. It's been good. I've been able to leave my Sigma imprint and I'm still making an impact in Sigma today. So
Okay. Good. Yeah. So, what do you see yourself in, say, 3 years from now? What's next?
so I'll be done with my PhD. I'll be Dr. Ronada Dominique.
All
I
right.
will have a first grader, I think, or second grader, which blows my mind. Or yeah, maybe a first grader. I will I will be remarried. So I'm currently engaged. I'll be remarried and maybe expanding my family, maybe finding an institution to teach
Mm-hmm.
at. I do have my own businesses. So First in Composition is my writing and speaking studio and I work with students and working professionals on their writing. So working a bit on that, expanding that, and any other ventures that I'm currently working on
Yeah.
that I don't
Yeah.
want to say too much about, right? But
Okay.
I certainly plan to leave a good legacy and to create that foundation for my children and my family to continue to build on.
Mm, I like that. Again, we're talking to Ronada Dominique about her story right here on What's a Reward. We're going to move to our final section of the show right now. I know time is going by fast, so I want to get these questions in. It's called the rapid fire section, so I really enjoy this. So the first question is a either or and why. If you had to
Okay.
choose one, who would it be? Malcolm X or Martin Luther King?
Ooh, dang, you come out the door with the hard.
Just come out there with it. Malcolm X or Martin Luther King?
I am rational. I'm more kind of I'm radical when I need to be, but I'm
Hmm.
more so on the low key side. And let's talk about it. Let's argue. Let's do those types of things. And then if I need to, take it up a notch, and I will. But that's not. I'm not coming out the gate like that.
Hmm.
Not to say that Malcolm X wasn't versatile because he was, but just that delivery is different. I think my delivery rests a bit more with Martin than Malcolm.
Mm, okay. If you could only attend one of these concerts, who would it be? Michael Jackson or Chris Brown?
Michael Jackson.
Okay. So you're not a
Oh
Chris
yeah,
Brown
that's it.
fan?
I am a Chris Brown fan, but I was a Michael Jackson fan first, and I'm still a Michael Jackson fan. I'm so when my mom texted me, I was on the train coming back home from school, and she told me that he was in cardiac arrest. I nearly fell out on the train. I was in
Oh,
DC.
hmm,
I nearly fell out on that train. I just it hurt me so deeply. It really
yeah,
did. It
yeah, it was
hurt
a
me so
shock.
deeply. I've always been a Michael fan. I've been a Janet fan. I
Mm,
loved it. We would listen to their on rotation. We pick parts and sing them
yeah,
every Christmas for hours and hours and hours. So
definitely a talented fan. I was more of a Tito fan. I think Tito was the breakout star that didn't get his credit, but that's just me.
but
Okay,
I can see that.
yeah. If you could change anything about yourself overnight, what would it be? One thing you could change.
My eyesight.
Absolutely, yeah, that definitely it.
If I could have 20/20 vision, that'd be great. Just fix it, Jesus.
Yeah.
Please. Just
Well, you
fix
know, you
it.
can get LASIK. I used to be a LASIK
I
salesman.
can't. I can't get LASIK. They told me so. I have an astigmatism and a lazy eye. Lazy eye isn't so obvious unless I gotta hold my eyes open for a long time. But
Hmm.
they told me I went to go try. They said if your eye been lazy this whole time, it's gonna stay lazy. So
You don't
have
want
a
to do
good
it.
day.
All right. Have you
Well
sur-
done.
have you surpassed your childhood dreams as an adult at this point?
I'm living them. I'm
Yeah.
living them.
Okay. Good answer.
And
Good
that's
answer.
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy to me when I think about it. Like this is literally my dream and I'm in that dream. It's my reality now,
Hmm.
right? It's insane.
Good. Yeah. I can tell you really are passionate about it. I'm glad you're on that path. Uh, choose three people to complete this question. Somebody, one who's been a mentor to you, somebody who's your equal, and somebody you could mentor.
Ooh.
We call this
Hmm.
section the rapid fire.
Right.
Somebody
There's
who's
so
been a
many.
mentor to you.
Somebody who's been I could just say I could name so many people. I have so many influences. I would say, of course, my mother, I think is my first mentor.
Hmm.
I've learned a lot of great and amazing lessons from her growing up. She was a single mother of four children. We lived in the projects, and all of us have graduated high school, graduated college. We all have at least one degree. My sister
Hmm.
and I have advanced degrees. So I've learned from her struggles, right? And that's partially why and how I'm here today. Like seeing her strength has given me what I needed to know that despite all the things, like I can do it and she did it. So I would say that as a mentor.
Okay.
Uh what's the second part?
Somebody who's your, would you say is your equal? Somebody you consider like a good friend. Somebody
I
who
got a lot
knows your
of
struggle.
um hmm that's a hard reward. There's so many, so many. I think I'll say my oldest friend. So Chrissy, she's my oldest friend, and we have different life paths, but I think the fact that early on as a child, like 6 years old, right, having her and her family in my corner, it just made all the difference. Again, living in the projects, you need people. And I think it was evident that my family, we were different. We didn't really fit in all the time.
Mm,
And Percy was always there to make sure nobody bothered me and just kind of showed me, like, helped me with my street smarts, right?
yeah.
And so I think when it comes that like to my equal, Chrissy would be like that's the first person. She was the first person who made it okay for me to be smart in the projects, for me to have
Okay.
dreams in the projects and not clown me for it, right?
Yeah.
And then someone I'd mentor,
Yep.
that I think I'm a good example for a couple people. One I can think of, I call her BH. Her name's Ashley. She's in my sorority as well. Came through my chapter, and she's actually in PA school right now. I believe
Okay.
at I think it's Morehouse PA school or
Okay.
something. I think it's something like that, and she's absolutely killing it. And whenever I post things, she calls me Doctor Sister, Doctor Sister something. It's just crazy. But she if nobody loves me in this world, Ashley loves me. And she always just tells me how much of an example I am to her to keep going, to keep moving. And so, and it's not that I directly mentor her, but I know that what I do has an impact and an influence on her life and a couple other people as well. And so, and I check in with her and I make sure she's good and I send her these encouraging thoughts and ideas and I engage with what she puts out there, right? She has these questions about, you know, if someone comes in the hospital with this, what is it? And I'm trying to put like, did I get it right? She was like, yeah, you got to like, hey, just put my name on the bottom of
There you go.
your diploma stuff because I
Yeah.
mean
Share
I
that.
could be in PhD together,
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like those answers. Now, I watched a TikTok earlier today, and I heard this woman say that her friends are triggered when a man says, "Since I have to spend all my money on you and dating to get to know you, what do you bring to the table?" Now, as a veteran of marriage, you said you survived at one time, so I think we all been there. My question is, should women have to show a man that she's wife material, or is it just all on a man to show, "Hey, I'm a provider"? What's your thoughts on that?
I relationships, any relationship is an exchange, right? Is an
Mm,
exchange of thoughts and ideas and communication and all these things, right? It's 100. It's not 50-50. You're not bringing half yourself to the relationship. You're bringing your whole self to the relationship. And when you're in that courting phase, right? When you're trying to understand or get a feel for this person, you absolutely want to show them what you have to offer. And that doesn't mean show all your cards, right? That's not it because you'll find yourself burnt out if you do that every single time. But it's up to you to decide how much you're going to extend, how much of yourself you'll extend to a person. And if you feel incrementally, and then if you feel that things are progressing, then you show a bit more and you show a bit more.
mm,
But I think it's absolutely important for both men and women to say, I'm into you. I like you. And I want you to experience what I have to offer so that you know by the time we make it official, whether that's, starting a relationship and or engagement, preparing for marriage, that you know exactly what you're getting. Like
mm,
you can't hide your cards forever. And so I think for men and women, you have to trust that the person you're courting will know what to do with what you're presenting,
mm,
but you also have to know when said person is also taking advantage of it and when to depart. And I think that departing piece is what gets a lot of people because they stay well, like way longer than they need to or they should. And then they get hurt in the end and then blame the person and all those types of things, right? So I
yep,
think when it comes to that, if a man is showing it, so we're traditional, right? A man is courting you, taking you out to dinner, and all those types of things. I think for women, you then respond to that. You have to respond to that. It requires a response. And that response could be, I don't know, a gift. It could be you planning the next date, you paying for the next date, or,
whoa,
what it could be those things, right? But it's most definitely an exchange. It can't be all like give and or all take.
right.
And I think that's what people forget. It's an investment on both parts, and you both have to invest your time into each other so that you understand better who you're dealing with and if you want to deal with them long term. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I can tell you from my talk to a lot of guys tend to think, man, it's like we just coming out of pocket all the time, and if they don't like us, what they lose. She should come over and show me how she clean the house or something. She should cook food. But I think it's society has kind of set that up where you got to show the woman you love her and all that stuff, and or a woman can slap you in the face, you can never hit a woman back, all that stuff. So, like you said,
I
it's
mean,
a strange.
I don't believe in physical altercations on either part, right? I
I
think
don't
that's
either.
very it's childish. There are ways that you can express yourself without hitting someone.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to consider sometimes, not all the time, sometimes men may bring this on themselves because
Oh.
of masculinity.
Mm.
So what I'm
Please
saying is,
explain.
sure, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. And I'm not saying all, I'm saying some,
Mhm.
right?
They know who they are.
If right. If there was a woman who approached you, sought interest, and said, I would like to take you on a date, you would feel weird because that's not how it's supposed to go, right? That's a challenge to your
Mm,
masculinity. Not some, or not
mm,
all, but
mm.
some.
I'm cool with that.
And so there are some men who say, if I'm supposed to, provide, if I'm supposed to lean into that masculinity, and the woman allows them to do that, right? If they say, like for me, I say I can pay. I can pay. I bring my wallet every time I go somewhere. I'm never waiting for you to I'll pull my card out before you pull yours out.
Hmm.
But so many times men are saying, no, you don't gotta pay. Like I ain't actually do that. Or if I do pull my card out, they get offended. Like, why would you, and so it's like, well, shoot, do you want me just to contribute or don't you? And if you do, then how am I supposed to know? Right. So I think that misconception or that bit is lack of communication. I
Hmm.
think that's one, lack of communication. So it's totally okay for a man to want his wife, his girlfriend, or whatever to pay if that's communicated. But if every time I pull my card out, you tell me put it back, eventually I'm going to stop pulling my card out.
Hmm.
And so
Right.
then when you
I can
start
see
feeling
that.
like you're paying, then your butt hurt because I'm not pulling my card out anymore, but you keep telling me not to do it. So I think that's
Right.
communication. That's a lack
Yes.
of communication to say, or I don't know, make an agreement every 10 days. I don't know who's keeping track of this, but something. But I
Hmm.
think a lot of times we see this breakdown in relationships because that lack of communication, and you're assuming your partner can read your mind and they can't. So if
Hmm.
you tell me, oh, I plan the dates, or, okay, then you plan all the dates then. But don't get upset when I'm not planning dates because you told me that you were planning all the dates.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
same thing for women. Same thing for women, right? If you buy the groceries and you keep buying the groceries and the man never buys them, you can't get mad because you keep buying all the groceries. Or just tell him that you want him to buy the groceries, or just tell him that you want him to take the trash out. Just you know,
Yeah.
communicate. You have to communicate. And I think if people effectively communicated rationally, right, without being accusory, without all this extra stuff and clicky clacky and clapping and all that stuff. And,
Mhm.
if you did that effectively, where people would be open to receiving what you're saying, a lot of these issues would not. And then being okay with someone not agreeing with what you're saying. That's the other part, too.
Yeah, I just don't think that really happens too much because we don't even have relationship classes in our formative years when people really need to know how to treat each other. So you kind of left up to seeing what your uncles did or what your parents did, and you kind of
Yeah,
repeat that cycle a lot of times. And then you're in a relationship,
sure.
and a guy would even tell a girl what he wants. Just tell her if I just want to be casual, dating, friends, whatever. Say that, but that don't always happen
Sure.
like that.
For
And
sure.
then, of course, we know the situations where some women would just save a dude's name as Olive Garden because that's all she do. I was on Olive Garden with you, and that's it. I mean, just saying, it's either there or there. But this is about you. I'm sorry. Let's just get back to this.
Oh,
All right.
no, it's good. The last thing I'll say is just make your expectations clear too.
Yeah.
Like no undercover thing. Just make your expectations clear. And I thought you were going to talk about that meme where the guy's like, "Oh, if I take you out, then I'm expecting sex or something." I'm like, "Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay." I
Yeah.
thought you were going there, but that's
No,
for
no.
another day.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, that's a whole show. Do you think women are smarter than men? Just between me and you?
No, right. Between me, I think
Us.
women and men think differently.
Very
I would
political.
say
Okay.
they think differently, and in many cases, I think it's by design that they think differently because of how they're receiving their information and who they receive it from.
Mm,
So I don't think necessarily smarter than. I think women think differently than men. Men think differently from men, and this is why when you come together, you find your person. It's supposed to work because your
right.
thinking's supposed to,
Right. Yeah.
align in some way.
Yeah. As long as there is mutual respect and love, I think the
Uh,
relationships tend to thrive a little better because I don't expect you to be like me. I expect you to compliment
correct,
me. So I think that's
correct.
something. Again, I'm writing a relationship book, so I'm kind of throwing some stuff in
Okay.
there. But and you might want to check for that next year. It's called "Women Are Crazy" or "Do Men Make Them That Way" by William Moore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. But so tell me this: what does your guy like about you? How he describe you?
Oh, wow. Let me ask him real quick. Hold on. I think, well, he likes who I am,
Mhm.
right? He
Yeah.
likes, my mind. He likes the way that I think. He said I could care less if he had a PhD or not, right? But I
Mhm.
think having one and just being able to articulate my thoughts and my feelings, I think he likes that. I know that he likes that I am rational and I listen, right? I
Mm.
am understanding. And those are things that a lot of people don't get in relationships. And I think that the fact that like I've created that safe space for him to be himself. I know that he really likes that, right?
Mhm.
Um, he likes my humor, he likes my personality. Um, yeah, he likes that I'm not in one box. Sometimes he calls me difficult with the way that I think because I'm just not traditional, right? But I
Mm.
think he likes that I can't be placed in one box,
What do
you
you mean
know?
by you're not traditional? You don't wear dresses or you wear Crocs all the time? What are you saying?
Well, I wear anything I want, so I can, dress it up, dress it down, and make it look good, whatever it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean more so like traditionally thinking, right? The way that I move, those types of things. I'm always going against the status quo.
Uh,
If you tell me that the sidewalk is made for walking, then I'm walking in the street because I could do that.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
Stuff
you're
like that.
free. You're free.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I've always been a free spirited person. My mother calls me her free spirited child all the time. She's
Hmm.
not surprised by anything that I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all on brand for me. And so yeah, I think those are things. Just being able to just to be me freely and allow him to be him freely. I think that's like top tier.
Okay. All right. Good. Good to know. Next question. I only got two left. What's your favorite book,
Okay.
movie, or series? Either one.
Ooh. So I'll say my favorite series because I was just talking about this. So I don't watch TV often.
Okay.
Definitely not during the year because I have so much work and I'm reading. So my TV rarely comes on. And I feel guilty about watching TV sometimes because of my program. I know it's crazy. But when I do watch TV, I watch a lot of documentaries. Like
Yeah.
most women in the world, I watch crime stuff, right?
Oh my. Why do women like
And
that stuff? Then go to sleep at night looking at you. Okay.
But I watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of animal documentaries, and there was this series called Zoo that was on
Right.
Netflix, and it's
Write
not
that
on
down.
anymore.
I'll
It
find
was
it.
2017, I think, and so
Zoo.
they still advertise it. But I absolutely loved it because it was animals, it was action, it was my kind of TV.
Zoo.
And it's
It's
basically,
like
yeah,
a
it's called
horror movie or
Zoo.
something,
No, 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 it's
or
a
a zoo.
series. So it's a couple
Oh, okay.
series, a couple seasons,
Okay.
and it follows this doctor. I forget his name, but his family, they were in Africa working with animals and things like that. And there's like this outbreak, and animals are literally running loose and just doing strange things in the world, all over the world. And they got to figure out why and find cures for this. Like it was insane. Think of like Walking Dead, but like animals.
Okay. All right.
But not really, but kind of. But
Yeah.
it was I absolutely loved it, and they didn't continue it on for a new season. I was just heartbroken. So that was probably my favorite series. I'm not a series person. I'd rather watch a movie or one documentary, but that series I was certainly into. I also been watching Jurassic World series on Netflix. It's a new series on Netflix that they have. It's like
Is that the
Camp
cartoon?
Crustaceans.
Oh, the real one.
Yeah,
Oh, the cartoon. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Camp
Okay.
Crustaceans. I just watched all season 5 of that because that's
Okay.
also my
Yeah. I took past that. All right. My final question in this round is: do you think racism is a real thing for Black people, or are we just kind of responsible for our own problems sometimes? Or is it even hard being a Black woman? I know
I
here,
think
tell me
it's a
did a
little
lot
bit
for
of
us.
both.
So we
I
kind
think
of
it's a
cause our
little
own
bit of,
problem.
I think we do sometimes now, but I think that we have to always, you should have asked this question first. Um, but I think we have to realize the effects of racism and how it has transformed over time, over the course of centuries,
Mm.
to what it is presenting itself with now and those impacts and implications of past time periods on now. I think that when we think about racism in America, we know that it is ever present. And we know this because of people who come from other countries who
Oh
say,
yeah.
I didn't even realize my skin color or anything until I got here
Oh
because race
yeah.
is definitely a thing here, right?
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
where they come from. So it very much is alive and it just looks differently than it did. Have we progressed since? Sure, for sure. But I don't think we can disregard those experiences to say at this moment, Black people in America, descendants of enslaved people, are causing their own demise. I think the system that is America has built on a lot of they've built a lot of entities on slavery
Oh
and
yeah.
injustices that continue to produce certain types of people and situations that we continue to find ourselves in. It very much so is and was a business, and it still is a business.
Yeah.
So while Black people are, kind of raging against the machine, raging against the machine with, Black owned businesses and all these types of things, we got to consider the hardship of that happening and how difficult and the obstacles that have been in place and still in place that prevented them from doing this before the pandemic, right? Before the 90s, right? So I say it's a bit of both. Of course, we can't hold ourselves responsible for everything that every Black person does. No other race does that, I think, except Black people. But what we can do is commit to bettering ourselves and fighting against the system that we experience every day. And I think sometimes people want to discredit racism and the effects of racism in America because it's not enough data, but experiences are very much so data, right?
Hmm.
You have a whole group of people saying, "Look, we saw a UFO." Like 100 people said they saw a UFO. They probably did see a UFO or something that looked like it. Like
Hmm.
it's all
Yeah.
right. And so
So.
if you have people like in academia who say, I have been discriminated against, I have felt this way. You have all these people from different universities, different institutions saying the same thing. There has to be some validity to it. So
Hmm.
some of it is us, some of it is the system, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting. That doesn't mean we stop pushing for everything that we deserve as
Hmm.
Black people in America.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that we've kind of come some way because I really don't think we have come as far as say other people have because when you think about it, when we go back to that question I asked you about Malcolm and Martin, the same things they were fighting for then, they're still fighting for now. The game changed from
Mm-hmm.
slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration. So then you're
Mm-hmm.
still having the first black person doing this, the first black person doing that. When you think about it, we weren't brought over here to ever be an equal. And if people say, well, that was a long time ago, we doing this now. Well, if that's the case, why is the Constitution not rewritten, dismantled? Because a long time ago, that was written for a different type of people who didn't even know what's going to turn into this. And it's like we're
Mm-hmm.
fighting a battle that you can't win because you can't prepare for it because you don't know what to do. So it's just a dichotomy.
I think we're fighting a battle that we feel like we can't win because the enemy looks different, right? The enemy is now, and I use enemy loosely because I know that's a charged word,
Yes.
but we're dealing with individual mindsets and individual actions that
Mm.
people can now say, oh, it's not all people, it's this person, it's this person's preference, it's this person's idea. When in reality, this person represents a large part of people who can make decisions, who can determine and alter, right, where you go, how you get there, when you get there, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the hard part now is it's not, you know, racism and Jim Crow, it was evident, like these people and those people. It's now that it's been ingrained in our legislative system, now it's in our, they've made the prison a business, and you
Oh
got to
yeah.
keep the bodies in the beds. Right now
Yep.
it's different because it's so deeply embedded in these structures, so it looks different. And we how do you come up against a mindset, or of something that somebody could say, oh well, that's just them? Like how do you fight against that? Like how there's no laws to say that you've been discriminated against. So how can you say you've been discriminated against just because someone treated you how you feel to be what you perceive to be unfair? Like that,
Mhm.
that's like it's coming. They're trying to make it more ambiguous than what it is. So, and you said something else that I wanted to comment on, and I can't think about it now. I've been talking so much.
Uh-oh. It'll probably come back to you. I guess for me, I think the key is I don't believe is in voting. Now, I tell everybody I don't believe in this system. It's not for me, but people can do what they want to do because I think the key is unity. If everybody who thought like me or felt similar to me said, hey, you know what? We're not going to Walmart on Fridays. No black people or people who feel this is a problem is not going. I guarantee you laws will change real quick because I heard a politician say the other day, he said, they said, are you corrupt? He said, I really wouldn't say I'm corrupt, but I would say I have a lot of things I want to get done. But in order for me to get into politics, I have to go to people with money because it costs a lot of money to get in the game. The people with money want something. And when they want something, I have to
Mhm.
give them something back. So once I get in the position that I wanted, I got to pay it back so I can continue to pay it forward. That right there let me know
Mhm.
that I'm gonna do it another way. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, I black people, and I think that's the biggest downfall of black people. But again, we gotta think about why. Why can't black people unify like other cultures,
oh,
right?
that's easy.
Why?
Yeah. Because
Right, right. For you and I, that's easy, right?
right, yeah, we don't
Um,
own nothing.
but there are people who don't believe, who don't see that connection. And so I tell, like,
How do you
people know,
not see that?
especially these big corporations, they know the power of the black dollar. They
Yeah.
know that when 2020, George Floyd, he was killed on my birthday, 2020, May 25th.
Mm,
And all these corporations and big businesses came out with these statements and stuff.
yep.
I'm not going to say that they didn't believe what they were saying or wasn't going to follow through, but they know the power of the black dollar.
Yeah.
And I think if black people understood that and realized that the power that they have, even in voting, Stacey Abrams, I'm pretty sure she gonna be in there,
Mm,
right? But the numbers of black people when we unify and get behind something, and we are that united front, things
yeah.
most definitely will change because we have the power to do it. But I think for so long people have been silenced and scared and afraid because of what's been done, that they're not, or things aren't happening as quickly as they want them to happen, and they lose faith and they lose, that fire that they have. And I think that would be the biggest downfall of black people today. The other thing I was going to say was when you were mentioning so long ago, and I was just on Ruby Bridges's Instagram page. And so when people, because they're in DC here, they are doing a movie about civil rights, I think, leader or something like that. I can't remember the name, but they're including an insert of Ruby Bridges walking to school, and
Mm,
integration and stuff like that. And so the newspapers here were kind of circulating those images, and I'm like, Ruby Bridges, that was what, 60 years ago?
yeah.
That wasn't
Yeah.
that long
Yeah.
ago.
Right. Yeah.
So when you talk about, oh, so long ago, it actually wasn't that long ago,
You're right.
right? These issues were not that long ago. And these people, they're kids. Like, so if you go to her page, you'll see, some clips and excerpts from documentaries. There are children and kids out there talk about N words, this, and we don't want to be with them. And you think they're not that old.
No. No.
It's
That's what I said.
definitely that mindset is still there. So it annoys me when people say, "Oh, it's been so long, been so in the past." Slavery, yes. Segregation, no.
Yeah.
Right? Which
Hmm.
comes from, right? And we have not addressed those things in America. And so it's impossible to move people when people say, "Oh, because of Barack Obama, we're in a post-racial society." We are not. We are
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who told you that, but we aren't. We're definitely still in a racial society, and we have to address it and have these conversations and deal with it in order to move forward. I am optimistic about Xavier's generation. So this Gen Alpha, I think the oldest Gen Alpha may be 11 or
Hmm.
12 or something, right? And Xavier's like the tail end of that generation. But I'm optimistic with them because I think that they are being provided the tools that they need, and they're getting really sound instruction, and you know all those influences are a bit more positive so that they can hopefully restart all this and give us a better start. So, because I know that's my charge as her mother,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to tell, she's going to know her history. She's going to know the history of America and being a Black girl here. But the difference is, I'm not telling you to blame anyone. I want you to know where you're coming from, my experiences, your grandmother experiences, so you can understand how to navigate better and not have these things be obstacles for you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Well,
yeah.
that's interesting because as a former school teacher myself, I stay abreast on what's going on, and a lot of times they're trying to remove history that they really didn't tell. Well, they told his story, but they really didn't tell things, and now they're just trying to delete it. Say we don't want to, talk about the negative things that have happened. Okay, yeah, but it's still happening now, so they're trying to remove all that. So I guess I have a different perspective on it. I look around the world and I see so many things happening that I've never seen before. I mean, the violence
Mhm.
that these people are killing each other like never before. It's like time is speeding up, and it's just crazy. But it's going to be what it is. So anyway, you know what? We've come to the end of the show. We could talk for hours, but we got to wrap it up here.
We
But go ahead,
could.
tell the people again where they can find your social media footprints at if they want to follow up with you, meet more about your story, or just follow your journey. Where can they find you at?
Oh yeah. So I do have a website, RonadaDominique.com. That is my website, and it has some of my publications on there, what I'm doing, my research. And I'm on Instagram at Locks Galore, LOCSGALORE, and I document me, my journey, as a mom, anything that I'm going through. I'm definitely going to start documenting my this section of my PhD journey a bit more. So you can find me there. I'm on TikTok, but that's not popping that much. So
Yeah.
Instagram is kind of where it all goes down, and then I just kind of disseminate to the other socials if I remember. So
Yeah. Okay. Is there any closing thoughts you can give anybody who might want to follow your path and become a PhD? Anything you want to tell them?
I do. I want to tell them to always follow their dreams, right? Follow your dreams and don't count yourself out because there's too many people in the world who already may do that. So don't you can't count yourself out when there's so many people who will already, right? Don't make your life harder for you than it already has to be. I want you to remember that you are control of you. Don't give anybody else control over what you say it, how you react. I want everything that you do to be because you wanted to do it, not because someone else made you do it. And that's super, super important for me. And always, always remember to smile, look up at the sun, soak in those rays because the sun absolutely recharges you and gives you that joy that you may have lost along the way.
Hmm. All right, I like that too. Well, before we close, I'd just like to add that here at the What's Up at Word podcast, we always say everybody has a story to tell. We just want to know yours. We thank you, future doctor, for sharing yours with us today. And I would like to say also reiterate what you said: never give up. Your dreams are important, and they can take you a long way. It may take you longer than others, but keep clapping for everybody else until it's your turn. So, with that
Yeah.
being said, peace.